Welcome back to another part of this F1 25 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 14 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Last time out, it was a tale of two races for the Red Bull team. Tsunoda span out and Verstappen dominated the biggest victory margin I've ever seen for an AI in any F1 game career mode. 37 seconds. Unbelievable. And yet, as some of you saw, Tsunoda was the Red Bull car that got the driver of the day. If you don't believe me, go back to that episode and check it out at the end of the race. Yeah, I don't know what the fans were on voting for that in-game in this alternate universe, but they thought, yeah, Tsunoda spin? Oh, yeah, driver of the day. Verstappen, 37-second margin. Do better. Do better, as we maximized everything we could in that race, really, because this is the R&D chart. And it's tough. This is genuinely the hardest I've ever seen the AI come back at me with R&D, and it's welcomed. Like, I know a lot of you were maybe a little bit like, ooh, is it already getting a bit easy maybe around round 4 when we got that amazing, first points on the board with Jenson Button at Jeddah. But honestly, look at the last 5-6 episodes. This rate of development is nuts from the AI to come back at us. I mean, Williams and Alpine and Aston are now technically ahead of McLaren, just about on paper. Question marks need to be asked about their bottle job, let's be frank, this season. And stick around in this first part of the video, because later, before we get on to sprint quali, we'll show you an updated vehicle performance chart, because it gets even more mental than it already is for the AI out developing me and having an arms race is the best way to describe it with each other. If you go back to previous F1 games, I've never seen AI upgrading like this in the first season. It's so welcomed, it's so great, and it's giving me a real challenge. Like, I feel like we're doing so many upgrades. Like, look how many parts we've got on the table trying to develop. Obviously, developing is their research. They're halfway done, but we're still waiting for the dual development to come in to really help us wick through these upgrades, get them on the car. We get a bonus from the university talk that I did last episode, so I chose wisely in that regard for sure. And obviously, we're still researching bits. We're, getting new parts on for the drag reduction, finishing off the, balancing out the front and rear downforce. And we've got 1,700 points to still spend. And I'm going to go ahead and spend it on both sets of the next front and rear downforce upgrades to keep it all nice and balanced from front to rear. But we're now down to 84 R&D points. This is the least amount of R&D points I've ever had in the series, I think, because we've actually, been sitting on a lot of R&D points up until now. Finally, I've bought enough facilities where I can actually splurge a lot of this R&D, because at one point I think I had over 6,000 points, but things are finally opening up for us, financially, and we can hopefully start to really gain some momentum. And this is going to really help. Dual development. For the first time now, as a team, we can develop two parts of the same one at the same time and give parity to our drivers. There are some cons to doing that. It takes a bit more time to dual develop them and costs a little bit more. So, there could be a case in, still situations where we single develop some parts, but look how good that just feels great. Being able to do that in time for Brazil, it is perfect. But there might be times where there's not enough time in between Grand Prix where we might want to just get one part on the car. So there's still going to be some times where we don't dual develop things, but that's certainly going to make a world of difference, I think, to trying to keep up with the AI, because I think for certain, we know the AI simulate this facility management in the back end. I know for sure, I would guess that most of the AI teams, apart from maybe Kick Sauber, have that dual development. So I think it's going to be a real plus for us. So we've got one owner training point, so I'm just looking through the various options, kind of seeing where we could go in the owner training tree to kind of pick the best one for us. But I think it's got to be drilling down into this middle pillar of the personnel, getting a reduction of cost of facility improvements by 15%. 15%. is actually massive of a cost reduction for facility upgrades. And I'm hoping next season we're going to be earning more, you know, getting more sponsors on, obviously getting the fan rating up. So it's kind of more of a future sort of owner perk that, you know, because right now we're 1.1 million. We're not going to be buying anything anytime soon. But into season 2, that's what I'm thinking about, is trying to just get these things costing less. I genuinely think, compared to previous F1 games, I think this will take us till season 3 to start challenging for the title. Whereas if you look back consistently at the last, you know, 4 F1 games since F1 2020, it's taken us till season 2 to do that. I think this year, and kudos to them, with all of this extra management gameplay, the way the mechanics work, slowing you down with the upgrades, at least in my save, I feel like it's going to take us 3 seasons to get there, which I think is going to be music to a lot of your guys' ears, of having a bit more realism, of taking that a little bit longer as a new F1 team. Of course, it's still going to take within an enjoyable amount of time. You know, you're never going to get true realism in that way, because it's a video game. I don't want to be playing career mode for 10 seasons just to get the championship in the 10th season. We still want to get there, you know, in an amount of time where it's not like a chore to actually play the game, and it's actually still fun to do it. So there's a nice balance, which I think this game, hopefully, is about to strike in the next 2 seasons. But look at this performance chart. We bring upgrades, enough upgrades to get ourselves ahead of McLaren. We are ahead of the team that started the season as the best team on the grid. But have you seen what is happening at the top end? Alpine are the second best team now on this grid. This is an accurate, updated comparison, by the way. This chart here updates as you upgrade, because I've seen us going up above McLaren as I applied an assigned upgrade. So this is the most updated comparison of the teams going into Sao Paulo. Alpine, the nearest team to now Red Bull, who seem to have really, you know, walked away from everyone, and maybe the 37-second win from Verstappen last time out was a good indication that that was accurate in terms of how much Red Bull have upgraded. Ferrari still holding on to 3rd, Aston now above Williams, Haas have climbed up above us and stuck with and kind of, you know, headed that kind of secondary pack, as it were, and McLaren have slipped down below us and on par with VCarb. Kick Sauber really falling behind. That's going to be a painful next season as they turn into Audi, of course. But I mean, this is just mental. That is crazy levels of change from Alpine. Even Aston and Williams keeping up the pace they have of upgrades. Haas as well coming out of nowhere late on to re-overtake us. It's crazy, and this is only season 1. Like what's going to happen in season 2 and 3? Like when we're getting to even bigger things, you know, each of the teams getting even bigger facilities, and you know, getting towards you know, maxed out cars. It's going to be just crazy in a really good way. Like, this could set up a unbelievable season 2 already, we know. Like, if Alpine carry over that performance over the winter, that's going to be crazy. And it's going to be crazy now, because we're going to see Alpine, second best team on the grid, see how they perform around Sao Paulo. To that end, I got very panicked. I was like, okay, we need to do more facility upgrades, clearly, because we are getting left behind. Honestly, the AI are really thrashing me when it comes to upgrading here. So we already had a development powertrain upgrade to do the 2 slots of development for the powertrain, because we were bottlenecked. But I was really curious about what are some upgrades in phase 2 that are unavailable, because obviously the dual development was unavailable because you had to purchase one upgrade before. So look at this, reducing the time it takes to research upgrades by 15%. That's a large amount of time to get off research, but to get that upgrade, we have to buy this improved comms research one. So it's quite cheap, so we're going to go ahead and buy it. So top tip, definitely look at the unavailable upgrades to see what you need to get in order to get those ones, because there are some really good ones down the line, but they're locked behind this kind of, know, jumping through hoop situation. And as we get some final upgrades on the car, that is the final updated vehicle comparison chart. So we just get back ahead of Haas, but this confirming to you, this chart compared to the actual R&D graph, this little diagram here actually updates real time as you do the upgrade. So you can see legitimately Haas are now behind us and McLaren are actually down there. Third worst team on the grid, and Alpine are going to carry on being the second best team. Ferrari, I think, make a tiny gain on them, but they're still going to be up there. This is just, wow, we're about to find out as we head into Sao Paulo, and we're going to have two chances to see, because this is the sprint quali, of course, for Sao Paulo. So it's as usual with the sprint episodes, doing short qualifying. So it means in the sprint quali, it's basically a one-shot. We only have one soft compound to use in the entire session, along with everyone else. We're one of the last cars to come across the line in this session, and it's only going to get us up. Oh, my days. That's painful. P17. I mean, I've never been the best qualifier in general, and especially at Sao Paulo, I've never been the best qualifier, but that is a bit crazy. Tramnitz will out-qualify us. Albon on pole, on sprint pole. What? Sainz P4. Williams have turned up. Where is Alpine at? Gasly, I mean, he's close to the Red Bull, to be fair. P8 doing down in P18. So, I mean, sprint quali is always a bit more chaotic than the full quali. So let's see how that goes later on. But, I mean, Williams have reveled in the chaos. Albon on sprint pole. Tsunoda is the lead Red Bull in second place, making up for the spinning last time out. And Tramnitz has absolutely cooked there versus us. P12 to P17. Fair play to him. Fair play to him. I mean, it's going to be very hard to do anything interesting, obviously, in the sprint. It's just all out-and-out pace. It's just pushing flat out. So let's just hope that we can get a good start and get into a rhythm and find a bit more speed as we turn the laps here around Sao Paulo. It's a bit overcast for the sprint on the Saturday here as we go to lights out, and we are on the way for the sprint for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's a so-so getaway for us, really slow one for the cars on the right. Alonso, Behrman held up. We go down the inside, we're tucked in right behind Tramnitz, avoiding action on Behrman. Lawson re-overtakes us. Tramnitz down to P14. Can he make an overtake? We're going to be a bit patient here and see if he can make a move down the inside. We just take the racing line. Tim dives down the inside. Can he actually get the elbow out on Lawson? Go on, son. Go on. Squeeze him out, man. Get that overtake. As he's gone down the order, obviously, from his P12 slot. As we now have a look at Lawson. Can't make a move on the outside. We do on the inside, though. Easy does it through the right-hander. Lawson is still there, though. And he's actually come back at us. Lawson showing once again there how well the AI can do on your outside, keeping the foot in and making us work for the overtake to finish it for P14 on the opening lap. So it's a pretty good first lap for us, I suppose, as now there's a little bit of a train forming behind the new slow papaya McLaren car. Piastri really struggling in a McLaren that is now the third worst team on the grid. That is just bonkers to say, really, considering they start the game as the best team on this grid. The reigning Constructors champions in a world of pain. Hadjar is as well, as he loses the back end, and we're going to use that to our advantage, knowing I could have dived it down the inside because we knew he was struggling for grip. We already got Tramnitz, obviously, beforehand pretty easily. Didn't make it too difficult for us. Piastri now, oh my lord, getting done by the two Aston Martins. Alonso on the outside. Piastri loses both positions to the green outfit, and we come through round the outside to get one. And now looking for the move on Alonso, pouncing it. Commitment on the left, and we are really taking no prisoners. But if anything, this just shows, as we set the fastest lap of this sprint and get down the inside of Stroll, I definitely have more race pace in Sao Paulo. For some reason, I just can't hook it up over one lap. But in the race, when there's a bit of traffic or, an ebb and flow of a race, I've got a bit more pace for sure. And that's always been the case on the previous F1 games. As we see Tsunoda get into the lead. He's ruined Albon's party. It was 1-3 for Williams in this sprint. Tsunoda's come through and the Red Bull leads again. But it's not Verstappen this time, surprisingly. He's down in P6 and he's got Leclerc all over him as we just focus again on Piastri, and then Lando Norris, P19. What has gone wrong for McLaren? What happened? Did they just lose all their staff, their engineering staff? Like, I can't actually believe how far they have fallen. The fall-off is going to be studied for generations, I feel, as Albon and Sainz swap. The Spaniard now in second place. You can see in the mini-map, he's actually pulling away from Albon now and he's pressurizing Tsunoda. So could it be Sainz taking Williams to the top here in the sprint as we close up on a train? Albon's really struggling because he's actually the one slowing everyone down here. And Verstappen, by the way, you may have noticed, he's P8. He got overtaken by Leclerc and Gasly. So it's a very, far from the dominant display we saw in Singapore. 37 seconds he was in the lead. Here he's getting done by an Alpine and Leclerc, the Ferrari, that just couldn't catch him in Singapore. And we actually might even have a little go at Verstappen soon enough on lap 8. 4 laps to go in this sprint, and Albon's just been overtaken by Lewis. So I think now they're all being released. Look how much quicker that Ferrari is on the minimap compared to Albon. So Albon's really the only reason we're all bunching up here. He is really, really slow, but all of a sudden Alonso is having a little look at me, and it's all pressurising.
Okay, stand by. We see a problem our end, and we're looking into it.
Okay, that's never good in the sprint. There's not, too many laps to rectify any sort of car issue. Don't tell me this is going to be an engine failure. We did really well from P17 to P9. No points, but it's still been a pretty great drive for us, so I'll be really annoyed if
okay, it's not good news, I'm afraid. Seems like an engine issue.
Obviously, it's the fuel. Look at the fuel. The fuel's in lean mixture. I didn't actually understand what had happened initially here, but in hindsight, I concede straight away it was the fuel levels. I'm about to find out. There you go. Alonso goes past us. We're a non-ERS. Trying to save battery because I'm trying to preempt the fuel mixture, but lean fuel mixture is just nail in the coffin. You're never going to outdo that. So that's pretty much our progress in the sprint done for Alonso gets us. We're down to P10. We weren't even in any points anyway, so does a P9 to P10 matter? No, and if anything, this race did show some promise. We have some good race pace, as does Carlos Sainz compared to his teammate Albon. Sainz going for the lead of this sprint, committing on the left-hand side. Tsunoda goes a bit wide. Sainz with the pace, with the advantage of DRS on the left-hand side, and he is going to outbrake the Red Bull and get up into first place of this sprint. I think it is going to be a successful day in the sunlight now here in Sao Paulo for the Williams team. It won't be Albon though. He's way down to P5. He's really not doing too well on those mediums. But Sainz is going to pull through for his first win for Williams. It's a sprint win, but it's a first win for the blue outfit this season and for Carlos Sainz. Obviously, they've been at times cooking this season, and they're definitely cooking us in terms of that's the team we've got to construct his rivalry with, era-defining rivalry. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The team we're in a rivalry with is winning sprints. Something tells me we're not going to get the fan rating bonus from that, to be honest. But I'll take driver of the day, driving as Jensen. We did get the fastest lap. So, if anything, this does show I've got race pace, and it's always been the case. I just can't hook up Sao Paulo over one lap when it's low fuel. And also, if you actually look at previous races at Sao Paulo, I'm also never good at the end of the race. There's something about being on low fuel around here. I'm just not very good at extracting the maximum from the car. But with fuel on board, we're good. You know, when there's tyres to manage or, you know, strategies to pull off, we're good around here. So I'm confident from that sprint as what we saw that we can do well in the Grand Prix. But at the very end of the race, that'll be interesting because I always seem to lose pace right at the end as the tyres go off and the fuel comes down. But and that's going to be the case here. Not the tyres, but the fuel as we get into now the full qualifying for the real Brazilian Grand Prix. A short session, of course, here with the sprint weekends, but we do have 2 tyres to use in the full quote-unquote qualifying here around Sao Paulo. It's a sunny day now in contrast from the sprint, so let's hope it's going to bring some good vibes here. And I felt good on the first lap. I thought, okay, we've got a bit more confidence from the sprint, a couple of lines we've tightened up here, so let's see how we do with our first lap on the board. It's P7 ahead of Albon, which is quite promising because he was on sprint pole, but eventually we're down to P13. Tramnitz, though, P16, so I thought, okay, at least I'm ahead of my teammate who beat me last time, but I should have seen the 2 Williams being so low should have been a sign that there was more time to find for everyone, because all of a sudden I'm on my last flying lap. The checkered flag's fallen. I have only gained 0.2 of a second, and we're down to P20. Yeah, I am so bad around this track over 1 lap. I don't know what it is. I just cannot find time. And it's going to be another pretty dismal day in the office for qualifying around Sao Paulo. And at least I'm nothing but consistent. P17 again for the full Grand Prix. This time, though, it is Verstappen on pole, so maybe they found something in this setup in between the sprint and the full session. He's on pole. Lando's P2, so ironically, after all of the craziness we've seen in the R&D chart and etc., the 2 people who are 1-2 in the championship are 1-2 in this race, so Lando's done pretty well with the 3rd worst car to be on the front row, but the Alpine of Gasly's there in 3rd place. So watch out for that, and let's see what we can do. Tramnitz only got P16, so maybe this genuinely is where the car is. I hope not. I hope we can catapult ourselves up the grid. Let's go to the race.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Gasly, Tsunoda, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Behrman, Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, and Jack Doohan, Ocon, Antonelli, Lance Stroll, and Piastri, Hülkenberg, Tramnitz, Jenson Button, and George Russell, Albon, Bortoletto, Hadjar, and Liam Lawson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. Interlagos, always one of my favourite weekends of the season. Love Brazil, adore this track.
Absolutely spot on, Crofty. I wish you could pick this circuit up and place it, copy-paste it on multiple different locations around the planet, because it is sensational to watch, sensational to drive. And for all these drivers here in Brazil, it's a great time to get stuck into this Interlagos circuit. It's an anti-clockwise track, lots of important corners to get right, and it's a track where you can make or lose an awful lot of lap time.
So, taking inspiration from how well Singapore went for us, I am once again going to start on the hard compound, because it is a 1 versus a 2 stop here around Sao Paulo. Tramnitz clearly maybe on the 2 stop, because the 2 stop was starting on the mediums, but there is a 1 stop available. And I think the better way to go is going longer on hards and kind of doing what we did in Singapore, hopefully getting into some clean air, just doing our business and hopefully stretching enough where the medium then is in a good range at the end of this race. We have to try something different compared to the cars around us, all of them on mediums apart from Hulkenberg, so we may as well try this to try and get ourselves up the order. And then big question marks at the front. How quick is that Alpine going to be on the second row? How quick are Verstappen and Lando going to be on the front one as we go to fire lights? And we're on the way for the full Brazilian Grand Prix, and we've had an absolute nightmare of a getaway. One of the worst starts we've had on F1 25. We nearly put this car in the wall off the line. The hard compound, I know there's little grip compared to the other tyres, but that was a bit ridiculous. We almost had a cataclysmically embarrassing moment there, and we're going to make up for it now as we dive it on Hulkenberg and Tramnitz, and we saw the space, we went through, and in the end, we've actually recovered not too badly, you know, from being down in, what was it, I think 20 or 21. We're now trying to go for Ocon as Ocon smashes us as we get into the next right-hander, not giving us the room to work with, so we'll repay the favour, squeeze him out, and Tramnitz may just walk through. He has, and we're now going to absolutely launch it at Lance Stroll. I am taking no prisoners today because that start annoyed me, and I think we also have more pace than where we qualified, and I want to get on with it. I want to get into that clean air and just get on with the task at hand as we close up to Piastri. We know how slow the McLaren looked in the race. Even though Lando's on the front row, I reckon he'll be falling away very, very quickly, and Piastri does not look quick at all on the same compound as me as we make quick work of the Australian up into P12. Lando already down to P4. What did I say? And it's Gasly, of all people, who is the nearest car to Max Verstappen. 0.3 the gap is as Sainz overtakes Behrman for P8. It was a poor quali for Williams. They're going to want to make up and show the same pace they showed in the sprint, as it's Hamilton versus Norris for P3. And look at Gasly practically pushing Verstappen through that left-hander. I think we've got a race on our hands between the Alpine and the Red Bull. How fantastic is this? There's fighting going on behind. Norris, Hamilton, Alonso, Tsunoda, all close together. Leclerc in there as well. It's going to be monumental, and as those guys fight, hopefully we come towards them as we come towards the rookie Kimi Antonelli, one of the drivers we are courting potentially for next season. We schooled him once driving as Jenson Button back in Bahrain. We'll try it again. Kimi, though, a bit more aggressive now, maybe more confident in the car. Is bloody Nora, Kimi. Jesus, absolutely launched it into the center S, didn't he? Like we weren't even there. We fake to the left, we go to the right, and we're going to pay him back a little bit and completely shut the door into the apex and get the move. But Kimi Antonelli getting a bit more feisty now in the car, maybe more confident in that car. And meanwhile, this was a replay at the same time as our battle as Antonelli ahead of us. This was Gasly overtaking Verstappen onto that same lap. Gasly, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine leads the Brazilian Grand Prix legitimately. Insane, insane. His teammate not doing as well. 10 places back. He's stuck behind Behrman. Let's see what this Alpine is really made of. Let's kind of suss out maybe where they've made upgrades. Clearly on the corner exits in the middle of the corner, they're looking pretty good. But the Alpine was already pretty nifty in a straight line. You know, ironically, because the Renault engine is the worst engine in the game, and yet they've been like a bullet in a straight line at the times where we fought them, as we now make quick work of Behrman. He's really not doing well, is he, on those hards, and we follow through doing, but we want to make a move on Jackie Boy ourselves as we close up both with DRS. It's going to be hard here as Doohan is actually catching Sainz. Oh God, I went for the move. I went for it. Didn't work out. It opened up, though, because you saw what I was going for. Doohan was too focused on Sainz, and he just left the right-hand side wide open, but we just couldn't manage it. And like Kimi, Doohan did really well to just kind of, aggressively get an elbow and try and pinch us a bit. This time, though, it's our turn to pinch him out a little bit as we just almost catch him napping, really, in this train. Now spearheaded by, I think that's Hamilton. So Hamilton, having overtaken Lando Norris, is now struggling on tyres. So there's a train now of Hamilton down to us, but we're going to try and break the toe from Doohan and just get onto the back of Sainz and hopefully don't have any bother from the cars behind us. Saying that though, look at the speed Doohan's actually got, so we're going to have to work a bit harder in the corners and use a bit of battery to pull away. We've not. He's stuck with us. He's still 3/10 behind us, so I don't think we're shaking this Alpine, so we're going to have to just put cars between us, and so we do really well to launch it towards the Williams. Sainz though making a move for his own. He goes to the right, I go to the left. It's going to be 3 wide into the first 2 turns. An unbelievable scrap as we just find the room to go round the outside to make the double pass on Sainz and Tsunoda. And that's us up into P7. What a move that was there. Real commitment shown. Didn't flinch whatsoever, as it could have been pretty bad and we could have definitely backed out of it, but we held firm because this is a replay. Look how close things get on Tsunoda's POV, and then, oh, he fully slammed the door shut on Sainz, and he's got front wing damage. So the sprint winner has made an early stop to fix his front wing, and that was all Tsunoda, because ironically, Tsunoda was giving me so much room. He basically didn't give Sainz any, and that's how we made that move then, because I gave him enough room as well. I thought I was fully on the curb on the left, so it's just racing, really, just very, very unfortunate for Carlos Sainz there, as we now try and set our sights on catching up to Leclerc, Hamilton, Alonso, and Norris, because that pack is slowing each other up by fighting. And as we get on to lap 12, this is Gasly still leading this race convincingly, half a second ahead of Verstappen. Lando's now pulling away in P3, surprisingly, actually. He's kind of found a bit more pace compared to the first few laps, and that's because I think the Ferraris, or at least Hamilton's Ferrari, really struggling for tyres as Fernando Alonso overtakes him. So Aston had a few off races where they kept getting knocked out in Q1, but they were always up there in the R&D chart. So this is a bit more like it from Fernando Alonso, the retiring Fernando Alonso, of course, in this season 1, up in P4. Meanwhile, Antonelli still bringing up the rear of the top 10. Tramnitz P15 at the moment, as the F3 driver, lower than 70 rated. I can't ask too much more from him at this stage. He's doing all right, to be fair. He's shaking it up. He's not kind of completely lost touch with everyone around him, so can't ask for much more. Hamilton Alonso make contact into turn 1. The 2 former rivals going at it, and Leclerc may sniff a chance here. I want to sniff a chance here. I want to get past all 3 of them, but it's just so awkward. They're so busy fighting each other. I'm going from left to right to left again to the middle, losing the back end myself in the dirty air. There's nowhere to go. These 3 are blocking the track, fighting each other. And at this stage, you can tell my hard tyres are the much better race tyre. These mediums have gone off. They've seemed horrible for most of these guys who started on mediums, and the hards were definitely the way to go at the start of this race with the heavier fuel loads. But annoyingly, I've lost a bit of time here, and I just can't quite make a move on any of these guys. They're frustratingly just quick enough to kind of give each other DRS and stop me from making a move. So I kind of back off a little bit on purpose, just to make sure we're not in the hot air too much, overheating the engine. Leclerc's going to come in for an undercut pit stop. We're going to make a filthy dive bomb on Alonso to get into some clean air. Hamilton a second ahead of us, so the engine's not going to get too hot. Tramnitz comes in, so thankfully we didn't come in, because we were scheduled to come in, I think, on lap 16, but we're extending the stint as much as we can, basically, to try and give ourselves the best bet on mediums. Eventually, though, I've got the leaders overtaking me either side. Insane. Oh, Gasly, Verstappen. They make contact. Verstappen gets ahead. He was already ahead after their first pit stops. I thought that might have changed as they went either side of me, but no, Verstappen is in the lead, in the net lead, but Gasly's just going for the move again. They make more contact, and the Alpine retakes him. Unbelievable. The Alpine legit has pace. We've seen it overtake the Red Bull twice now, and Gasly's not afraid to get aggressive there. Twice he's made contact with Verstappen on that same lap. So in a net P1 is Gasly, Verstappen P2. Obviously, whoever's in first place right now, I think it's like Hamilton, he's yet to pit, so eventually those two will be the front 2. As we come in now, the tyre icon, brick red, So those tyres were really, really done. But now it means we've got 16 laps on mediums, which is about around the same amount of laps that the Ferraris, Alonso was doing. So we're kind of matching better teams than us on the R&D chart in terms of tyre wear, like tyre stints, basically. We come out ahead of doing. We've lost track position to some cars like Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, obviously, but a lot of these guys are actually coming in for a second stop. So I think we can just press on and eventually catch them. We're on a better tyre compound, even if they're on mediums as well. Ocon's mediums are far more worn than mine, so we can just launch it on the inside. Lawson here really holding up Sainz and Tsunoda. So can we use Lawson to our aid and get Tsunoda and Sainz in one foul swoop? We did it once before. Can we do it again? As Ocon, to be fair to him, gave us a good old run for the money through the middle, tight and twisting, up and down roller coaster. That is Sao Paulo, but we now just kind of floated in and make a pretty easy pass, I'm not going to lie, on Tsunoda. And now looking for the move on Sainz. I think Lawson is going to peel into the pit, so it's now open game to overtake Sainz for the second time in this race. He gives us no room on the left. We go to the outside, a bit of wobbling from the Spaniard as we both jockey for position, nearly a bit of contact. We just about give each other enough racing room to work with on the outside, on the right now for the run down to the next left-hander, but we're DRS aided. We are going to sail round the outside on fresher mediums and get back up into that P7 we were in before. Ahead of us, Alonso, Norris behind the two Ferraris now, but he was doing my strategy. He's gone from hards to mediums, whereas the Ferraris are on hards. So let's see. The thing is, the hards were so good for me in stint 1. I actually think, ironically, now the guys who are on hards, they're going to benefit from that in the same way. And I just think the medium is just an awful tyre, it seems, maybe around Sao Paulo, because I'm getting caught and done by Tsunoda. I know I'm on medium ERS, but the fact he caught me after I overtook him and gapped him by about a second and a half, he brought that back in, just shows the hards are actually the better race tyre around here. If you could do 2 hard tyres to end the race, I would. Because, yeah, the medium is really suffering. No one's bothered for this off. So, yeah, real struggle town. But someone who's not struggling is Verstappen on hards. Gasly as well. And these two, again, are going to duke it out for the race lead. And this now is getting into crunch time. 7 laps to go. This is for the race win. Verstappen on the inside. Gasly cannot do anything to defend that. But can he come back at him? He will. The Alpine. Look at the straight line speed of that pink and blue car. But Verstappen is just too good on the brakes. Outbrakes Gasly and maintains first place. But it's unbelievable. We've got a proper genuine scrap between Red Bull and Alpine for P1. Madness in season 1. Absolute madness is...
DRS will be offline. There's a fault with the rear wing system. Stay out. We can work on a fix remotely.
Okay, really? Great. Okay, well, not only am I going to be slow as usual at the end of a race of Sao Paulo, the game, my car has decided I'm going to doubly be slow. I've got no DRS now to pull me along from Tsunoda, so that's pretty much our race done in terms of catching Tsunoda or keeping up with him, as there is going to be some swapping late on in this race between Albon and Doohan for the last points-paying positions of P9 and 10. Meanwhile, Tramnitz going from the right to the left. Bit of a fake out there from the German into the inside. He's trying to go up to P12. This would be great. If he gets P12 to my P8 is a very solid job for Tim Tramnitz. Go on, son. He's overtaken Stroll, I think. Yeah, he's got him. P12. Lovely stuff. You can't ask for much more from him. You can't. As an AI F3 icon, you can't ask much more from him, as by the last lap, Gasly gave it a good effort. It's clear the Red Bull has the dominant tyre wear, tyre pace, because he's gapped Gasly by 4.5 seconds. Max Verstappen puts one hand on the Drivers' Championship, you feel, but Gasly will be the hero of the day. What a man. Fought, Verstappen, fair and square, he lost out, but Alpine, they've got something special brewing in the tank, whereas Lando Norris, second in the championship, way down in P6, Piastri P14, what are McLaren doing? They've done the opposite of Alpine, and they've just nosedived in performances. We limp home for P8, tyres are dead, DRS was dead, it's come back online, not that it matters, and it's a very hard-fought P8. At some points, we've actually outscored Williams, so it's actually a pretty damn good day in the office for us versus them. But it's just worrying to see how quick Aston, Alpine are. Williams have been in the sprint. Very worrying, very worrying.
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
And it's always good, Crofty, to get that momentum on your side, and it's really good for your confidence as well. The more confident you are, the further that can take you.
Just when you thought it was going to be Ferrari chasing down Verstappen for the Drivers' Championship, maybe Leclerc or Hamilton, Verstappen 40 points clear now. Leclerc actually has got level with Lando, so Leclerc will be the runner-up, but Verstappen can now clinch the Drivers' Championship in 2025 next episode in Las Vegas, his favorite place in the world, obviously. So that's going to be a great venue for him. But in contrast, Ferrari are the ones who are looking very comfy for the constructors. So that's going to be very odd. Ferrari winning constructors, and yet Verstappen dominates the Drivers' Championship. Very, very odd. For us, we gain a little bit on Williams, but they're over 100 points. We're just at 73. So, actually, I felt pretty good about outscoring Williams in that main Grand Prix, but we're nowhere near them. We're absolutely nowhere near them. They're closer to Mercedes than we are to them. It's, 2 rounds to go in this season. It's just about seeing it out, holding this position, and basically just trying to maximize everything we can in terms of the positions and maybe the R&D before going into the winter break, of course. Guys, if you have enjoyed this one, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.